Just sing a song, sing a song. It will make you feel better if you sing a song. Sing it. A song can heal the heart. It can ease the mind. I got a little song I sing in troubled times. Sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it. All night long, shout it all night long. Sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it. All night long, shout it all night long. Sing it all night long, shout it all night long. Sing it all night long, shout it all night long. Sing it all night long, shout it all night long. Sing it all night long, shout it all night long. Sing it. hoping that we never part. Stay with me, baby, won't you be my sweetheart? And we could share a storybook romance, just you and I. If you were my sweetheart, and we could share a storybook romance.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away. I've got to run away. I've got to run away. 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 Away.
Warning. Swearing may be used on this stream cause we're grown. If you are easily offended, tighten up. Content provided on this stream is intended for entertainment purposes only. It should not be construed as legal or medical advice, and should not be relied upon or acted upon, without retaining proper counsel. No copyright infringement and no commercial benefits intended. All copyright belongs to rightful owners. With that mouthful being said, buckle up.
Here come the hot stepper.
Wait for it. Take my tears, yeah. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another show of Folk Culture. I am your host, Tanya Vital. I am a UK actor, writer, content creator, producer, streamer, and I will be your host this evening. What is Folk Culture for those of you who don't know? Let me know in the chat if the music's too loud or if I need to turn it down. Yeah, let me know in the chat. And you have to be following to type in the chat. So if you're not following, follow. So Folk Culture is an arts and culture showcase dedicated to Northern UK underrepresented artists. I developed the show due to COVID to highlight kind of the artists in our region that don't get the love that they should, and to provide a platform where we can kind of do what we want, show our creativity, collaborate with other people. And this is our 10th show? Been going a couple of weeks now. It is a labour of love. It's improving every week, and we've got some really great artists for you this evening. We've got Mussarat Rahman, we've got Marion Z, we've got Lowe, we've got Chui, we've got Darka. Again, we'll get to that, and we've got Gyda Heia. But before we get into all that, let's talk about our week, or 2 weeks, because we didn't have a show last week, did we? Because it was my mum's birthday, so I was otherwise engaged. So let's talk about the last couple of weeks. What have we been up to? Oh yeah, the hair is blonde again. So this is what the hair was like before lockdown. And we've been in quarantine that long that the blonde actually grew out. And I've been studying the Church of Bradmondo. So I taught myself how to bleach my own hair, and after 10 or 11 weeks or whatever it is, I finally got the courage to bleach it. And you know what? It didn't come out too bad, you know. It's still a little bit yellowy, but it's not as yellow as it could have been. I don't know how I feel about doing the roots, but I think I've done a good job. If the camera looks a little bit out of focus or a bit soft focus, I don't know what's going on with it today. I've tried to adjust it and it's a tiny little bit soft, but hopefully clear enough for you to see this. And I'm in. What else? The birthday stream. Thank you to everybody who came along for the birthday stream. We managed to make affiliate, which is amazing. That means that the show is now monetized on Twitch. And we can have ad breaks and things like that. Ad breaks are really important because it helps us reinvest in the platform and then reinvest in the artists, because we're no longer funded. We were only funded for the first 2 shows, so everything is. Oh, Martel, you got timed out by my bot. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure it was emojis and stuff, but my bot, just in case, you know, we get Nazis or anything.
Here come the hot stepper.
Hey, Alona. Hey, girl. Love your tart. Oh, thank you. I'm disappointed that you didn't enter your piece. Alona Mataka is a beautiful, wonderful actor from Manchester, and she's a good friend of mine, and she was supposed to be part of the show, but she's had a tough week. But we've got one of her colleagues, is it drama school friend Alona? Ivy, who's entered a piece, so we're all right. We're good. What else? Yeah, we made affiliates, so now the channel's monetized. So if I have to play an ad here and there, don't moan, because it's paying my artists. I mean, not yet, but eventually. Do you know what I mean? So we've got you can subscribe now. You can subscribe to the channel, and we've got sub badges. For those of you that don't know, it's a Twitch thing. It's just like little extra perks that you get for subscribing. And my sub badges are sushi, obviously. And I've got Doro Hedoro emotes.
Here come the hot stepper.
Hey, clearly optional. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome. Yes, Gyda on the boyfriend Twitch account. Yeah. You know. Okay. We've got a few things to talk about today, but I don't want to peak too soon because you know how political I can get, and I don't want to start us on a downer. So, without further ado, we are going to go to our first artist, and our first artist is a Bradfordian poet and writer called Mussarat Rahman. She has given us two pieces tonight. The first piece is a poetry piece called Destination, and the second piece is a mini animation that she's done called My Bradford, I believe. Yeah, My Bradford, I believe. So let me turn off the music. Next week I'm there. Alona says, listen, it's in writing now, guys. Have you seen the chat? Alona Mataka said next week I'm there, so we're holding her to that. I don't want to turn off the music. Oh, I love this music so much. Okay. All right, here we go. So our first piece is Destination by Mussarat Rahman.
Destination. I am a weary traveller, moving trudgingly, dragging my feet along the path. The path leads onwards, with no destination in sight. I haven't lost my fight. The weariness is inside, biting my bones raw and deep. I have no tears to weep. They are made from salt and dust, collected along the road, as I have traversed miles upon miles to reach this point, where I will not turn or break. I am steadfast and strong. A will of iron is inside me. I just need to rest and rejuvenate, and I will reclaim my sovereignty to stand tall and proud again, reaching a place to call home.
That was Mussarat with Destination. Those of you that are new to the show, you'll see each of the artists' social handles. We normally digitally busk, asking for you to donate to the artist, to buy them a coffee. £3 is a suggested donation amount, but £1, £2, 50 pence, whatever you can afford, is usually what we ask. But this week it's a little bit different because all donations this week will be going towards helping the Bradford Black Lives Matter rally that is, I think, happening on Saturday. So that's Mussarat Rahman. If you can't donate, we ask that you at the very least follow the artists, subscribe to their YouTube channels, all that kind of thing, share their work, like their work, and go and see them as soon as COVID's over. But she gave us two pieces tonight. The next one is a mini animation that I was really impressed with, and I was like, please let me show it on the show. It's called My Bradford, and here it is. So the piece is actually called I Am Bradford. I clearly can't read. And that was Mussarat Rahman again. Please follow her socials. If you want to donate directly to the artist, I think you can probably contact her and get in touch with her that way. If you want to collaborate that way, that's fine. But again, donations this week will be going towards the Bradford Black Lives Matter rally that I think is happening on Saturday. We'll get into that shortly. Our next piece is a very, very short piece by Okay, so those of you that don't know Marion, right? Marion is a Leeds-based singer, songwriter. She's part of Caution Collective with Stella and Rob and other people that you've seen on the show before. Marion is a special singer. She is one of those people that's born with a gift. And I've known her for years and years and years. And she's performed when we produced the Leeds Monologue Slam in 2011. I got her on there. She's fantastic. This piece is only a snippet of what's to come, but it's so amazing that I wanted to show it. So this is Marion Z. She's sick, right? How can somebody be born with that voice? I am so jealous. Yeah, so that is something that is coming up soon from Marion. I'm not sure if she's working on an EP or what, but that's not the finished track. It's just a snippet, she told me, but I stole it anyway. So next we have an interview with a Leeds-based writer, Adam Lowe. Adam, again, I've known for years and years and years. We met when we both did the Street Voices writers course at Freedom Studios with Madani Eunice. And he's continued to write since then. He's editor-in-chief at a few magazines, I believe. He's a poet. He's written books. He's big in the writing world and a good friend. So here is Adam Lowe. Welcome, Adam Lowe, to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. How have you been over these past few weeks?
Thank you for having me. You know, it's been really weird. I think lots of people are struggling or are challenged by what's happening. I've been trying to make the best of it. Obviously, I can't do any kind of performance work or anything involving, you know, going into schools or venues or anything like that. But I've been focusing a lot on my writing. And hopefully I have finished my poetry collection now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've sent that off to my publisher. He said he's just finishing some indexing and then he's going to look at it. So fingers crossed he'll be happy with it. And you know, if any that it's given me a little bit of chance to sit down and just work on it really and get it finished.
Yeah, it has given us a chance to pause and kind of figure out, well, most of us, I've been doing crazy stuff, but given us a bit of a chance to pause and kind of refocus. So just tell us a bit about your creative history. So you're a writer. I mean, we met, it was Madani's Freedom Studios Street Voices, right? Yeah. Way back in the day. So just tell us a bit about your creative history and what you've done since then.
Yeah, so I'm a writer. I also do a bit of performing and I do teaching as well. So yeah, I think it was 2009 maybe or 2008 when we did Street Voices 2 at at Freedom Studios in Bradford. So that's a really long time ago. And that was kind of when I first started my journey of writing professionally. I'd been writing for magazines since I was about 16, 17, starting with my college magazine. But it wasn't until round about, 2008, 2009, that I started really trying to focus on my creative work and started taking part in mentoring schemes and things like that. Over the years, I've found that as a Black writer, and you probably are aware of this too, that I've kind of had to multi-skill so that I can actually make money. So I don't just write, that's why I do a little bit of everything. And, you know, with my poetry, I might perform that myself, but I've also done directing. I've done 2 RTYDS courses, so that's Regional Young Theatre Directors Scheme, which is based at the Royal Exchange in Manchester, but they kind of host those across the north. And I've done 2 of those directing schemes. One was for disabled directors, and one was for directors of colour. And that was, I found, really empowering, and it gave me kind of another perspective on how to create work. One of those was part of a project called Slate that I ran in Manchester. So Slate was supporting Black and Asian artists across the whole of the north of England.
That's Eclipse, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's homed by Eclipse Theatre. So it was set up by Dawn Walton, who's a bit of a legend, and hundreds of Black artists have been supported through that scheme. So I was really, really proud to be part of that. And I was running Manchester for a year for that project. It's currently kind of reached the end of its funding cycle, but we worked with loads of different artists. We put work in front of, you know, thousands of people. We had exhibitions, we had performances, we had a showcase of work, we had residentials. And there's not really been that kind of involved, in-depth, long-term investment in Black and artists of colour for such a long time, or if ever, that I was really kind of proud to be doing that. So I did all of that. I've been doing teaching at Lancaster University, at the University of Central Lancashire, which is Preston University, not Lancaster. I always say Lancaster, but it's not, because it's UCLan. And then University of Leeds, where I teach on the MA course. I've been at Leeds for, I think, 4 years now. I joined UCLan. Yeah, I joined UCLan just before COVID-19 hit. So most of that teaching was done online.
Oh, wow. So you've been teaching while you've been locked up as well? That's crazy. Yeah,
it's been crazy. And I've just been trying to do as much as I can within that time. I got a commission from Your Local Arena, which is a project that is kind of exploring the local arena show that used to be on BBC, I believe it was. And they've been working with Bradford Literature Festival and Speaking Volumes to commission new responses to these old films. So I took part in something that was called 3 Faces of Bradford. And they were basically 3 short films about Bradford artists, one of whom was Andrea Dunbar, the playwright who wrote Rita Sue and Bob too. And I was just really kind of taken by Andrea Dunbar and her family's story. And so I wrote this poem about Buttershaw, the Buttershaw estate. A lot of my friends lived in Buttershaw when I was at college, and when I was at high school. A lot of my friends from Bradford, that's where they all came from. So I kind of felt really connected to her story, and I ended up writing a poem about that. So it's just been, even though we've had the lockdown, and even though I've had time to kind of work on my own stuff, I've still had other things kind of coming in. So yeah, I've been lucky in that sense.
That's great. That's really good. I think particularly for voiceover artists and writers, it's kind of been a little bit of a different world than it has for other people. So we've just come to the end of Pride Month.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to ask, like, being a Black person in the LGBTQ community, those of us who are not part of that community are learning all the time about its history. But can you tell us a bit about the history of Black people leading some of the LGBTQ plus kind of reforms and things like that?
Yeah, I mean,
very broad question, I know, but I just think it's interesting for us all to know the history.
I think it is, and I think it's really important that we know that actually there was a huge amount of crossover, especially between LGBT rights and the civil rights movement in America. A lot of the movers and shakers in both movements were queer people, and that can't be said enough. A lot of it was sort of Black lesbians, Black trans people, Black drag queens, you know, on both sides, and I think that's really important to remember. So the Stonewall riots, which kind of kicked everything off, and that's why we mark Pride Month in June, because it happened in June. They were riots that started at a mafia-owned pub in New York, and basically they were getting pestered all the time. The police would come in and do raids and things, and it was primarily a space where people of colour and gender non-conforming people, so drag queens, you know, butch dykes, that kind of thing, would all be hanging out, and some of them will have considered themselves trans, but maybe under different terminology because the language has obviously changed. But you know, they saw themselves as being persecuted, and this was the only kind of safe haven they had. So when the police came and they kind of, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, people started fighting back, and the people that were involved, such as Marsha P. Johnson, were all Black people, and a lot of them were either drag queens or trans people, or lesbians. And so that's what kind of kicked off the movement that we have now, and Pride is actually a celebration of those Stonewall riots. The first ever Pride that happened in the world happened 1 year after the Stonewall riots to kind of commemorate what had happened there. And that was all, you know, primarily people of colour. So Marsha P. Johnson was Black. The P stood for Pay It No Mind. So you would say, what does the P stand for, Marsha? And she'd be like, pay it no mind. She was quite sassy. She wrote poetry. She was, you know, really well accepted on the scene, but also she got a lot of stick even from other LGBT people because she was so out and proud, and because of the way that she dressed, and she was so flamboyant, and she would wear a wig. So she would get, you know, other gay people walking past and being like, ugh, what is that, you know? And my experience is that you know, that still exists in some parts of the gay community. There's some parts of it that are very middle class and very white and very male and very cisgender, and there can sometimes be a bit of a boys' club in some parts of it, and some parts of it, there are even gay Tories, which I find completely ridiculous. But I have met them. But, you know, I'm not one of those people that can say I've never kissed a Tory, but I can say that without a doubt they were all dreadful in bed. So, you know, I think there has been a huge impact from Black and brown people in the queer movement, and also queer people in the civil rights movement. And so we need to kind of remember that, really.
Yeah, so just kindly to touch on the state of the arts at the minute. I know we've recently got our roadmap to where we can go with the arts. Where do you think we're going to go? I mean, I guess it's difficult to say, but where would you like it to go from now?
I know where I would like it to go. I've actually been really impressed with how quickly everything's gone online and how accessible everything has become. But at the same time, it's been quite frustrating because a lot of people have been saying, you know, make these things accessible before that. And so I've got a chronic illness called ME, and so that limits your energy. And so for me, actually, traveling to things can be like the biggest barrier, because if I take a journey and it takes me a couple of hours to get somewhere, that can then wipe me out for the next week. So people aren't necessarily aware of that. And so I don't always go to things anymore. And I used to go to everything. I used to be that person who attended every gig, every workshop, you know, because that was how I networked and I made all my connections. And that's how I met everybody. But I can't really do that as much anymore. And I have to be really careful with my time. So the second that everything became online, I could suddenly engage with all these things that I'd kind of felt left out of for a while. My only worry is that as soon as everything reopens, everyone is just going to go back to the way that it was.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will want to forget that COVID ever happened and just go back to life as it was before COVID. But I'm hoping that enough people have kind of experienced it and thought, you know what, actually, it doesn't make sense for us all to be rushing through rush hour to get to this event or to get to this reading or this workshop or whatever, and that more stuff will now be held online because of that.
Yeah, accessibility has been a huge thing, and it's just proven how easy it is to do, how little it affects, or how taxing it is not for an organisation to allow people to see things online. So yeah, I'm hoping we don't revert back to exactly how it was before.
Exactly.
So briefly, just to touch on the Black Lives Matter movement. Keir, in his great wisdom, kind of made some comments the other day, and not necessarily what do you feel about his comments, but like how do you feel the Black Lives Matter movement in the UK can kind of move forward with UK issues?
Yeah, so I think Keir Starmer kind of really disappointed me with his comments, I think. I mean, I kind of knew that that's what we were getting when Keir Starmer came in. I'm not sure that the competition was particularly great among the leadership for the Labour Party anyway. And we do have this self-destructive thing. And I'm saying this as a lifelong Labour supporter. And my mum used to be a Labour Party councillor for 29 years. And one of my great-great-great-great-grandmothers was a Labour councillor back in the early 20th century. And I think she became a councillor in the late 19th century. So it's literally hundreds of years in our family. But there's been this self-destructive thing that they want to eradicate all the socialism within the party, or they want to get rid of anyone who is on the left. And for me, Labour has always had social democracy, within its makeup. It's always had people to the left. And it's really damaging to kind of try and bring that to a centrist kind of place that's, Tory-like, really. So I knew that was kind of what we were going to get, but it just disappointed me when he went and proved us right, really. Yeah. And it just felt that actually you've just let down all of your Black members, especially at a time when I've been having this conversation with so many Black people who are saying we're really pissed off with Labour at the moment because, I appreciate that Jewish people are calling them out, and so they've been trying to appease Jewish people, and they've been trying to make it right with them, but they haven't done the same with us. And actually, I know Black people that feel that they've been thrown under the bus, so that Keir Starmer can win over the media in terms of anti-Semitism. And at the same time, the Tories get away with so much, and it's so egregious and so obvious that actually a bit of you is really annoyed, saying, why are we arguing about, this one thing that Labour Party is getting wrong when the Tory is getting wrong everything, and we're not talking about that at all. And actually, it's a nice distraction from everything that the Tory party is doing wrong. And I made a post on Facebook the other day because obviously Black Lives Matter UK had tweeted something, and it was just one Twitter group, and I knew straight away what was going to be the bugbear, because there were a couple of issues within what they said. One was that they kind of suggested that there was like a conspiracy to stop people talking about Israel in the papers, and that's always going to be a touchy trope to mention, and I think it's something that we probably should avoid because it is something that anti-Semitic people will use. Yes. And the other was that they were specifically talking about Zionism, in inverted commas, as something that is equivalent to Israeli foreign policy and Israeli annexation of Palestine and the policy of Netanyahu. And actually, that's really dangerous as well, because I know loads of Jewish people. I've got Jewish people in my family. My cousin's children are Black Jewish people. And actually, Zionism is much wider than just an Israeli issue. It's about feeling a connection to a homeland that maybe you've lost and that you want to return to. It's about being able to self-determinate as a kind of as a unique ethnic group. And actually, everybody has the right to self-determination. It's within the EU Charter. So that's a kind of a dog whistle, if you like. It's a word that on the surface of it seems like it's a sensible word to use, or it's an okay word to use. But actually, what a lot of Jewish people will say is that when people mention Zionism or anti-Zionism, or saying I am opposed to Zionism, what they inevitably usually mean is that they are anti-Semitic, or it then brings in people that are anti-Semitic that then start feeding off that and saying all this hostile stuff. So I knew straight away when they'd said it what was wrong.
Right.
But at the same time, it felt like all of that was being weaponized to then turn Black people and Jewish people against each other.
Yeah.
And obviously, there are Black Jewish people as well. So, you know, not that they are completely separate groups of people. But I find that really problematic. And actually, I made this Facebook status update saying, you know, don't let the racists win. You know, if you disagree with what BLM UK have tweeted, there's one group that doesn't necessarily represent the whole of the Black Lives Matter movement in the UK. That's fine. Call them out for it, or be pissed off with them, or unfollow them, or whatever. But it doesn't mean that that means we suddenly switch off to Black Lives Matter. And vice versa. Just because there have been some people like Matt Lucas, who is Jewish, who have said, oh, well, this has now meant that, you know, and this isn't what Matt Lucas has said, but other people have said, oh, well, I'm not going to support Black Lives Matter now because of this. Part of me thinks, well, are we now just playing into that, you know, divide and conquer thing, where we're now saying, I'm not going to side with the Jews, and the Jews are saying, I'm not going to side with the Blacks. We're going to both go separately, and, you know, united we stand, and, you know, divided we fall.
Absolutely.
And that's as simple as it is, really.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to fascism, we have to all work together. I've been saying this for weeks. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how the Black Lives Matter movement as a movement, or as an ideology and as an idea, has now become a brand. And yes, there are organisations, but the organisation is not the ideology or the, you know, it's dangerous territory.
It's a hashtag. You know, it's a hashtag. It's like hashtag Me Too. It's like hashtag Times Up. Like, obviously, people have created these things, but they are bigger than the people who created them, and they are bigger than the spokespeople that claim to speak on behalf of them. And it's the same. You know, it's exactly the same with the Jewish community. That I'm sure that, you know, Matt Lucas doesn't represent every single one of those people. And I'm sure that there are loads of Jewish people out there that haven't done blackface and made comedy programs taking the piss out of, you know, Black people and Asian people and whatever else that they did, and disabled people, as on Little Britain. So it's unfair to kind of assume that these so-called spokespeople speak for everybody. And really, coming together is what's important, and we shouldn't let ourselves get sidetracked. You know, Black people shouldn't start getting anti-Semitic, and Jewish people shouldn't start being anti-Black, because actually that's playing into the racist handbook. You know, that's what they want us to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. That was really, really informative and inspiring.
Sorry if I witted on for ages.
No, because you taught me some things that I mean, you know, it's all about education, isn't it, really, and listening to each other and learning. And the minute we stop listening and stop trying to learn is when we end up with the situation that we're in now, fascism on the rise.
Exactly. And there were things that I didn't know, and I will admit that I freely admit that I've got things wrong in the past. You know, I remember having a couple of debates on Facebook with my good friend Grace, who is Jewish, and I'd said a couple of things that I didn't think at the time were anti-Semitic, saying things like, oh, it's not anti-Semitic to be anti-Zionist, which is like a buzzword. It's one of those dog whistles that people say, but actually the people that usually say that are anti-Semitic, but it's just that everybody else kind of picks that up as something, and you think of it as just a useful shorthand, but actually it's not. And so she kind of explained to me what Zionism was and what it meant to a person, and then I did my own research, and I went off and, like, you know, Zionism is a concept, like the idea of Zion itself is something that even Black people have a connection to in certain communities, because in Rastafarianism, you know, there's the idea of Zion as well, and it's this idea that we have a home that we've lost that we want to reclaim. And actually, how could I, in all consciousness, say, you know, that is a bad thing? And that wasn't what my problem was. My problem was actually a very specific thing, which is, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu saying, I'm going to annex this country, even though it's illegal, you know, saying, I don't recognise Palestine as a state, even though the UN does recognise it as a state. And those are very specific things. And Benjamin Netanyahu does not represent the whole of Israel even, and he doesn't represent all Jewish people. And there are lots of Israeli people that protest against him, and lots of Jewish people beyond that, you know, are not related to Israel or don't feel that it represents them. And so you've got to remember that, I think.
Yeah, thank you for that. So lastly, I guess it's difficult to say because we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we've got local lockdowns looming, but what are you hoping to do in the near future with your writing or directing or anything like that?
Well, so as I say, I've submitted my poetry collection, which I'm very excited about, although I did have a nightmare last night that my editor got back in touch with me and said it was absolutely dreadful. But he won't say that at all, because I know him really well. Jeremy's lovely. And he works at People Tree Press, where I also do social media and marketing stuff, so that's not going to happen. But that's going to come out eventually, and when that does, I'm hoping to do a tour, maybe do some online events, you know, do some workshops and things around that. It'll probably be a year or two, though, before it comes out, which I'm fine with. Other than that, I will be teaching again, hopefully in October, at the University of Leeds. That's where I do the MA Writing for Performance and Publication. And it's really nice to kind of teach on that course, because I studied on that course like 12 years ago myself, so it's kind of giving back to it. And as I say, I've done the poem about Buttershaw, which is on the website for your local arena, and that's about Andrea Dunbar. I will send the link over to you.
Yes, please. Yeah, that'd be great.
And just going to have some poems published in a few other places, hopefully coming out next month. There will be, no, this month now, because it's July.
July now, yeah.
There is going to be a new issue of Ambit magazine that will have one of my poems in, and I suspect there will be a few other things that trickle out online in the next few months as well.
Amazing. Busy bee, as always.
Exactly,
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on the show. And I miss you. I've not seen you in so long, but yeah, thank you.
No, it'll be so great to catch up sometime.
Yeah, definitely. As soon as this is over.
This poem's called Bone Railroad. I read this one at my cousin read this at my granddad's funeral, so it has quite a lot of sentiment behind it. It was around the time that we were talking about the reparations that were paid to slave owners after they had to give up their slaves. And I'd done some research, and it was all in the papers that people like David Cameron, and obviously his family had profiteered from having slaves and things. And it just really kind of pissed me off. And I remember reading an article talking about how money from the slave trade was used to build the railways in Britain. And so I started imagining the bones that were kind of left at the bottom of the ocean by all these bodies that were thrown over, because the slaves that died on slave ships would have just been thrown over, and a lot of them were still chained together at that point. Sometimes if one person died on the chain, they would just toss everybody over because it was easier than separating the chains to get rid of the dead ones. So people were literally treated like property, and then they claimed on the insurance because they said that they'd lost the property at sea. And so I had this vivid image in my head of all these bones forming a railway underneath the sea. So this is called Bone Railroad. I will clutch your bones together into a coral palace at the bottom of the sea. I will sing hymns to celebrate you in the vault built from your rib cage. The stained glass I will blow from your dreams. Who cast you down here like a bone railroad, from Africa's west coast to the Americas, the Caribbean? Whales will worship you. I will come down and sit upon your coral throne and remember who you were. I will unearth your stories, find the ships that discarded you, and sink them all. So the next poem I'm going to read is called Vada That. It's got a completely different energy. It's quite camp. It's written in Polari, which is a a kind of gay slang. I'm not going to translate it. It's enough to know that it's quite filthy, and I'm sure you can guess what it's about. Aunt Nell, the patterflash, and Gardy Lou. Bijou, she trolls bold on Lally's slicker stripes down the dilly. She minces past the brandy latch to Vada dolly dish for trade, silly with oomph and taste to park. She'll reef you on her vagaries, should you be so lucky. She plans to gamma steamer and tip the brandy, but give her starters and she'll be happy to give up for the Ava. May we, she's got your number, ducky. She'll cruise a Naomi with Fabulosa bod, regard the scotches, the thews, the rod, charpering a kazi for the trick. Slick she bamboozles the ogles of old Lily Law. She swishes through town, half Michigana, and blows Lamores through the oxy at all the passing trade. She'll sass a drink of Aqua de Vida, wallop with Vera in claw. Nelliada her voces chant, till the noche with panache becomes journo, till the sparkle allows the munge out of guard. But Shada, she's got nada, she aches for an affair, and dreams of Pogie through years of nicks. The game Nanty works, not for her. She prefers a head or backslung to the meat rack. Fact is, she'll end up in the chaperon kazi of Jennifer Justice. What is this queer ken she's in? Give her an auntie or a mama, the bones isn't needed just yet. Though she's a bimbo bit of hard, she's royal and tart and girl. You know Vardering her eek is always boner. Okay, so that one was...
I love that.
that. Yeah, loads of... Do you know what? I always get asked for that one as well, because it's quite a fun one, so people quite enjoy it. Okay, so the next one I will read is Boy Machine. This one is in an anthology called Filigree, which you can get from People True Press. I've had a couple of nice reviews about this poem recently, so I'm feeling good about it. It's called Boy Machine. 1. Last night I dreamed of Icarus, stitching wings of silk and feather and wax. He stretched the thatch over a lightweight wooden frame, the way a lover's embrace covers a starved man with flesh. Last night I fevered with thoughts of him. I could taste the cleft of his buttocks, feel the swim of saltwater sweat down his limbs. I flew closer. 2. In his workshop, Leonardo dreams of a boy machine lifted, held up against the sky to wink like chiselled flint, a specimen jewel. Leonardo imagines a world that moves without hands. He thinks of wheels that spin kingdoms. Leonardo is in love. I bolt the wings to my forearms, vast blades collected from helicopters, edging like rotary petals. I thread wire along the length of my veins, fire muscle with electricity, lightning from cumulonimbus gods. I am a spark ready to fly. I climb onto the cottage roof, wings aimed like a weather vane, stare at the rushing distances of twilight and take off. Scissorbird rocket man missile launched for space through pewter skies. So that one was Boy Machine. I think the last one that I'm going to read is called Jezebel Guilty Queen. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, got it here.
Okay.
So this is the last one, I promise. Jezebel Guilty Queen. You call me Jezebel, temptress, false idol in shallow spotlight, peddler of blasphemy and unnatural sex. You call me guilty, unsuited shock slut of back alleys, siren seed spilling in the thrashing of night. You call me a queen, paint me Anne Boleyn, paste on my makeup, sharp set and glittering. These pearls I clutch as sexy rosaries. Before you silence me, know this, though headless, I'll sing, I'll go down in history.
So that was Adam Beyonce Lowe, or just Adam Lowe, if you want to use his government. Amazing poet, amazing writer. I've put his details in, in the chat. He's got his most recent book is out on Amazon, I think it is. It's £6.33, called Precocious. Please follow his socials. Please go see his other work. Go read his other books and poems. His writing is the way he paints a picture is quite unique, and I'm really, really honoured to have had him on the show. We're gonna have a quick 60-second break, so if you need to go for a little wee, go now, and then coming up after the 60-second break, it's not a normal interval, we've only got a short show today. After the 60-second advert break, we've got Ivy Chui, we've got Gyda Heia, and we've got Darka. So stick around, babies. Those of you who are subbed will still be able to hear me. That's the perks of having a sub. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. We're having a party. No, it's not that kind of party. It's not that kind of party. All right, okay. So next up, we have Ivy Chui. She is a friend of my friend, Alona Mataka. She sent in a song. It's incredibly beautiful. So let me turn this off and we will get into Ivy. Again, remember her socials will be at the side. Follow her. Subscribe to her YouTube if she's got one. It helps the artist, man. It helps us monetize our channel and it costs you nothing. Okay, so here is Ivy.
Oh, it hurts the most 'cause I don't know the cause. Maybe I shouldn't have cried when you left and told me not to wait. Oh, it kills the most to say that I still care. Now I'm left trying to rewind the times you held and kissed me back. I wonder if you're thinking, is she alright all alone? I wonder if you tried to call but couldn't find your phone. Have I ever crossed your thoughts? Because your name's all over mine. Moment in time, don't watch me cry. A moment in time, don't watch me cry. I'm not crying 'cause you left me on my own. And I'm not crying 'cause you left me with no warning. And I'm just crying 'cause I can't escape what could have been. Are you aware when you set me free? All I can do is let my heart beat.
That was Ivy Chui, Manchester-based artist, recently graduated from the Arden, I believe, I've got to give mad respect to all the students over who've just graduated from the Arden and who are still at the Arden and who are fighting to get racial equality within the drama school. Alona, you are a warrior and I will stand by you through fire, girl. So do what you need to do and I'm Medea. Again, hope you followed Ivy's socials. Ivy, come back. Give us more. We want more, girl. This is just a start. Please send us some more stuff. I can see my friend Gyda in the chat getting timed out, being put on the naughty step for putting in too many emotes or whatever. I'm going to turn my bot off. I always forget. So sorry if you got timed out. But you're up next, girl. So don't be getting timed out, because next is Gyda Heia. So Gyda Heia is a Yorkshire-based artist. She's a performance artist. She's an incredible actor. She has created a piece that is, what would you call it? It's like digital art. It's quite contemporary and quite abstract. And when I first saw it, I think it was last year, I was like, this is incredible. The imagination that's gone into it, the level of artistry, the thinking outside of the box. Like, this is where I want this channel to go, guys. I'm not saying you have to do the same thing as Gyda, but when you see it, you'll understand what I mean. We need to start amping our game up, man. Okay, with that being said, here is Gyda Heia. So this is the videographer's details who helped Gyda make the film, Sakura Film Productions, and Gyda is on Instagram under the name Contaminated Flow. Thanks for that, Gyda. Like I said, very abstract. Your girl had to blur some things out because, not because it was obscene, it's just that Twitch, you know, those of you that know Twitch, like, you can't do nothing on Twitch, so I had to blur a few things out, but it's not obscene. You can catch the full thing over on her Instagram. Again, amazing artist. And I want more people thinking outside the box now. Thanks for the follow, Blazer Rhythm. Blazer Rhythm said, got to show some love to the art, and that is true, man. Another theatre's only been two theatres in the last 2 days have said that they're basically, one's closing down for good and one's laying off like 70% of their staff. We have to show some love to art, particularly those of us who are trying to do stuff digitally, because this might be all we have left. Okay, so yeah, definitely show some love to the art. Thanks so much for that, Gyda. Hope you do something else because I want to have you on the show again. Before we get into our last artist, I just want to say something very briefly. Saturday, if I can I show this or what? Go on. I don't think I can show it. Let me try. Hold on, guys. Hold on, because it's very important. Where's the thing? Hold on. Wait them boys. All right. Let me get the right window for y'all. Okay, so Saturday, as you can see, there is a Black Lives Matter. It's a unity rally in Bradford. We've come up against, I'm not really an organiser, I'm just somebody that knows who's involved. We've come up against a sticky point with the Bradford police. They've been trying to shut it down at all angles. To be fair to them, Bradford is listed only second under Leicester, who are now under localised lockdown. They've opened up a massive coronavirus walk-in testing clinic in the front of the town hall, so you know it's close proximity. I get it. I think this is still going on. Again, it's a unity, peaceful rally, just to again express our views and our support with the Black Lives Matter movement that's happening all across the world, and you know. To show anti-blackness the fucking door, man. Enough's enough now. We're sick of this shit. All right, that's my political bit. My last artist is Darka. So let me tell you this. Some of you have seen Darka on this show before. Darka is like my little brother. He's one of my best friends' little brother. So I've known him since he was a baby. And he's featured on the show, I think, at least twice now. But my mum rewatched one of the old shows, and she was like, are you having Darka on the show this week? And I'm like, no, he's been on twice. She was like, no, you better put him on because I said so. I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's your show, woman. So I forced him to give me this. The song's not even mastered yet. He's creating an EP that's coming out very soon. He released a snippet of this song. The song is called Kai. He released it on Father's Day. I'm going to cry. He released it on Father's Day as a dedication to his unborn son, who should be born in the next few days. So it's a really special thing. We were having a little bit of trouble with the artwork. And you know me, I like to add artwork to shit. So I added all these pictures, and he was like, no, Tan. It's actually a picture, it's a scan of the baby. So the little picture in the little circle is a scan of his little baby boy. Okay, so without further ado, here is Darka.
Hey, Mr. Music, what are you going to do? I make a new generation, a new creation, out of darkness into light. Are you happy?
I did this one for Kai. Not a single day goes by. Not a single moon or rise. I'll make sure my sun set. I dream of you at night. I'm having a boy, I'm laughing with joy. Can't even tell you scared as I've been. No longer get lean, and I'm living clean, but I'm still pyro. Tip of my arrow, never went shallow, you can ask follow. Since I had a dormant, was never a dormant. Wrap this like a mummy and you're in a torment. I can't refrain, how do I explain? How do I tell you? The world's a circus, I'm so nervous. Oh boy. Your purpose of life's a life full of purpose. Kai, I won't lie, why? I'd die twice for you. I'd fly, I ain't no bye-bye. Just my price for you. Try crying, try kind. Keep your head high and your feet grounded. So astounded, realm founded. Give to earth your beyond worth. My best creation, abbreviation. Has to be Kai, rhymes with July. Wrote this in Biro, named you Cairo. It's fair on my own pharaoh. I did this one for Kai. Not a single day goes by. Not a single moon or rise. I'll make sure my sun set. I dream of you at night.
Because there's nothing else but perfect but love. When you make her perfect love, everything is possible. Without perfect love, nothing is possible. With perfect love, everything is happy.
I hope you inherit the good traits. I grew up crediting hood grades. Mistakes are the greatest teachers. Raised by Queen Streets and preachers. That's where I'm coming from. Recorded lessons to pass on. If I pass on, get your class on. Make your math strong and the math long. Always better your last song. Question it all, digesting it all. No resting at all, investing it all. Protesting it all, no testing at all. Inherit the drive, the wisdom, strive the kings of yours kind. The mind, the rhythm, the grind, the mission. Refine and listen or sign petitions. Be self-sufficient, full commitment. I did this one for you. Hope all your dreams come true. I love you among us too. When you're older, hope I'm about. But you're better than me, no doubt. You're in my hands when I edit. For you to beef, I'll dead it. You're in my mind when I write. Always dream of you at night. 712. That's when you're due. The universe knew.
Look at the way we live. I wasn't hiding my kid from the world. I was hiding the world from my kid.
That was Darka with Kai, part of his EP that is coming out soon. And I already know from Bailey P, who you all know, the regulars know, that the EP is fire. So can't wait for that to come out. Can't wait for Marion's stuff to come out. Alona, you've signed up now, girl. Next week, or it's a done deal for you. Let me put on the lick on music there. Okay. So that is it for the show tonight, but we have a new schedule. Hey, and Mario, thank you so much for the follow, my guys. Guys, are there more of you? Sorry. Yeah, we've got a new sketch because we're affiliated now, so we have to do this properly. So Saturday, there's no show tomorrow. Saturday and Sunday are we're doing LA Noir. And we're doing viewer games, so you can interact in the viewer games. Those of you that came on my birthday stream that got involved with the Jackbox games, we'll be doing some of that shit, some chatting and whatnot. Again, remember that the Black Lives Matter Bradford Unity Rally is on Saturday in... I don't know what to call that place now. Was it the place in town? You know, the central... I mean, how big's town? You'll find it. Again, it's a peaceful rally. Please observe social distancing. Again, we're coming up against some trouble with the police then. But again, it's a peaceful rally and we'll all be social distancing, so there should be no issues. Please remember that Bradford is still very high for COVID instances. Wear your masks, wash your hands, stay away from everyone. Become a hermit like me, and yeah, join us Saturday and Sunday for the LA Noir. Come and laugh at me, my driving at LA Noir. Thank you so much for everybody who followed tonight. We will be back next week with another slew of artists on the Thursday. I appreciate you all so much that have come over from all our other platforms just to Twitch. It means so much to us. I don't fuck with Zuckerberg like that no more. I love you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all. Oh, before you go, those of you that are into anime, Funimation is on this week. Funimation Con is online, so come and join us. Now we're gonna raid somebody, okay? So don't go nowhere. We're gonna raid. We're gonna raid a motherfucker. Who should we raid? Let's see. Shall we raid Black Girl Gamers? Black Girl Gamers. Back. Okay. Love you all so much. Oh, you can't raid Black Girl Gamers. All right, let's raid my friend Hawk Pro. Okay. I want you to put some love, some emotes in his chat, and I will see you all soon. Love you. Good night.